Chicago, this is going to blow up everything you thought you knew about this team. We have news that will completely change your perspective on what's happening at Hollis Hall. First, our star receiver's name is popping up in trade rumors no one expected. Second, an undrafted rookie could be the key to beating the Raiders this Sunday. And third, the Bears are preparing to face tricky kicks that could change the game entirely. This information is exclusive and you need to stay until the end, because what's coming will shake the whole city. I can't believe what's happening with DJ Moore. After years of watching this team search for a reliable number one receiver, it turns out the man we thought was untouchable is now appearing in trade rumors. Can you believe this? When we think about all we've suffered through since the Trubisky era, we remember how this team desperately struggled to find reliable offensive weapons. Ryan Pace spent draft picks on Anthony Miller, tried with Allen Robinson when he was injured, and never could build a solid group of receivers. And now that we finally had Moore established as our WR1, is he possibly on the trade market? I'll tell you this. Chicago, Rome Odunze is changing the offensive landscape for the Bears in a way nobody anticipated. In just 3 games, the rookie already has more receptions than Moore. 16-12, more targets. 27-16, more yards. 227-135, and for touchdowns, 2 Moore's 1. 4 touchdowns in 3 games. But here's what really has me analyzing this from all angles. When you look at the deeper stats, Odunze is averaging 14.2 yards per reception compared to Moore's 11.3. That's not by chance. It's game design. Shane Waldron and his staff are using Odunze on deeper routes downfield, while Moore is being used more on short and intermediate routes to move the chains. And you know what this tells me about the offensive philosophy this organization wants to implement. They're building around Odunze's speed and athleticism, not necessarily Moore's experience and reliability. When you see Caleb Williams looking for Odunze on 3rd down and in the red zone, that tells you everything about the rookie quarterback's confidence in his classmate. But here comes what really worries me. Colin Cowherd mentioned on his show that he wouldn't be surprised if Moore ends up in Seattle before the trade deadline. And folks at Heavy are talking about sending him to New York for Kayvon Thibodeaux. You know what's crazy about all this? It makes sense from a salary cap perspective and roster building. Moore signed a 4-year extension for $110 million last year. That's $27.5 million per year on average, with $61 million guaranteed. For a 28-year-old receiver, that's a massive contract that could limit Ryan Poles' flexibility to sign other key pieces in the coming years. Compared to Odunze, who's on his rookie contract for the next 4 years earning less than $2 million per season. The math is simple, but do you think Poles is really considering this? I think he is, and here's why. When you look at the roster construction Poles has done since arriving, everything has been about creating salary cap flexibility while developing young talent. He traded Khalil Mack, let Roquan Smith walk, and has built the defense with young players on cheap contracts like Montez Sweat and TJ Edwards. The same philosophy could be applied to the offense. Besides Moore, Ryan Poles spent a 2nd-round pick on Luther Burden and a 1st on Colston Loveland. Do you see the pattern here? He is surrounding Caleb Williams with young, athletic, cheap offensive weapons that can grow with their quarterback. And here's what really has me thinking about the future. If you trade Moore now, while his value is high and before he turns 30, you could receive significant assets in return. The scenario with Kayvon Thibodeaux makes sense because the Bears desperately need help. In the pass rush, Montez Sweat has been solid, but we need another edge rusher who can create consistent pressure. And do you know what would happen if Moore goes to Seattle or New York? Suddenly, Odunze becomes the undisputed WR1, Luther Burden gets more opportunities to develop, and DJ Moore gets the chance to be the missing piece on a competitive team. Seattle with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Moore would be an elite receiving group. New York could use Moore alongside their other playmakers to help Jackson Dart in his development. But here is my biggest concern. Chicago, are we sure Odunze is ready to be the number 1 receiver on a team aiming for the playoffs? It's true he's had an incredible start, but being WR1 means being the main target of opposing defenses every Sunday. It means facing double coverage, the best cornerbacks, and the pressure to produce consistently. Moore has proven over the years that he can handle that responsibility. Last year, he had 1,306 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns, while playing with Justin Fields as quarterback most of the season. That's legitimate WR1 production in difficult circumstances. I ask you, is Moore really expendable when we are just starting to see what this offense can do with Caleb Williams maturing? Or is Poles thinking more long-term and seeing an opportunity to maximize assets while building something sustainable? If that surprised you, wait until you hear this. This Sunday against the Raiders, an undrafted Canadian rookie named Theo Bennett could be the difference between victory and a historic blowout for Caleb Williams. But Chicago isn't done yet. This Sunday against the Raiders, we face a situation that could completely define our season's course. And it all depends on the health of a right tackle and the preparation of a rookie who has never started a game in the NFL. Darnell Wright, our starting right tackle, is listed as did not practice in all this week's injury reports after suffering that nasty elbow injury against Dallas. And here's the problem: Chicago, if Wright can't play, Theo Bennett will have to face Max Crosby, one of the most dominant pass rushers in the entire NFL, in his first professional start. Do you understand the magnitude of what we're talking about here? Max Crosby is not an average edge rusher. This guy has been selected to the Pro Bowl for consecutive times, had 14.5 sacks last year, and is known for wrecking offensive lines not prepared for his intensity and technique. Crosby studies film like a maniac, knows every tendency of young quarterbacks, and will attack any weakness he finds in our protection. I'll tell you this, Wright already faced Crosby last year as a rookie playing with one healthy shoulder after that injury he suffered early in the season, and he handled him admirably. Wright used his solid technique and anchor against Crosby's bull rushes, and when Crosby tried speed rushes around the edge, Wright showed the necessary foot movement to stay in position. That was impressive for a rookie facing an elite pass rusher. But Bennett has never started a game in the NFL, never. This guy went undrafted for a reason. He comes from the Canadian university system, where the competition level doesn't remotely compare to what he'll face on Sunday. The edge rushers he faced in Canada probably ran 40 yards in for 0.8 seconds, while Crosby runs for 0.6 and has pass rush moves perfected over 6 years in the NFL. And do you know what my biggest concern is? That the Raiders will attack that weakness from the very first snap of the game. Antonio Pierce, the Las Vegas head coach, is a former linebacker who perfectly understands how to exploit an offensive line. He will put Crosby in one-on-one situations against Bennett all afternoon, and will send additional blitzes from the right side to overload our rookie. When you watch Crosby's film this season, he already has 8.5 sacks in just 3 games. He's leading the NFL in pressures generated and is on pace for more than 20 sacks this season. Against tackles with limited experience, Crosby is absolutely devastating because he can use his full repertoire of moves: bull rush, speed rush, spin move, and that rip move that's almost unstoppable when you have a leverage advantage. But here comes the interesting part. Bennett was called into action last week when Wright left the game for some snaps against Dallas, and he didn't look completely lost. Sure, Micah Parsons wasn't playing that week due to injury, but Bennett showed that he at least understands the basics of pass protection and didn't commit costly penalties. What gives me hope is that Chris Morgan, our offensive line coach, has been working with Bennett all season, preparing him for exactly this situation. Morgan comes from Seattle, where he developed a reputation for maximizing the potential of tackles with athletic limitations, using solid technique and scheme help. But do you trust that scheme help will be enough against Max Crosby? I'll tell you this, we can help Bennett with chip blocks from the tight end. We can slide protection to his side. We can use max protect with 6 or 7 blockers. But all that limits what we can do in the passing game. If we're using Cole Kmet to chip block Crosby on every snap, that means we can't use him running routes in the slot. If we're keeping Dander Swift in protection, we lose one of our best weapons in checkdowns and screen passes. And here's what really concerns me about Caleb Williams: development. Our rookie quarterback needs a clean pocket to develop timing with his receivers. When you see Williams make those perfect throws to Rome Odunze and DJ Moore, it's because he has those extra 2 or 3 seconds to let the routes develop. If Crosby is in the backfield every play, Williams will be scrambling constantly, and that will affect our entire passing game. But here comes what gives me some hope about this matchup. This game is turning into a favorable environment for the Bears in Las Vegas. There are so many Chicago fans. Traveling at Allegiant Stadium could sound like Soldier Field, and you know why that's important for a rookie like Bennett? Because when your own crowd is making noise, that can energize a young player and give them the confidence they need to compete. The Bears have one of the most loyal fan bases in the NFL, and Las Vegas is close enough to Chicago for thousands of fans to make the trip. If the Bears can come out strong early, especially on offense with some big play from Williams to O'Duns. That crowd will be on our side, and that could give Benedetta the emotional boost he needs to survive. His first matchups with Crosby, the other advantage we have is that Shane Waldron perfectly understands the defensive tendencies of Las Vegas after years of studying film in the NFC West when he was in Seattle. Waldron knows exactly how Crosby likes to set up his pass rush moves and can design plays that help Benedetta anticipate what's coming. But do you really think scheme and environment will be enough if Wright can't play? The reality is simple. If Wright plays, I'm confident we can win this game decisively. Wright has proven he can handle elite pass rushers even when he's injured. If he doesn't play, it all depends on whether an undrafted rookie can compete against one of the league's best edge rushers in his first professional start. I ask you, would you bet the season's future on Theo Benedetta facing Max Crosby and keeping Caleb Williams clean? Because that might be the reality Sunday if Wright can't recover from that elbow injury. And when you thought we'd finish with shocking news. But Chicago isn't done with surprises. We have a tactical advantage nobody is discussing that could completely change this game against the Raiders in ways most fans don't even comprehend. Richard Hightower, our special teams coordinator, is preparing our squad for something he calls dirty kicks from Daniel Carlson. These are special effect kicks that make the ball almost impossible to handle cleanly, and the Raiders have been using them all season as a tactical weapon to control field position. Do you remember the days when kickers just kicked the ball as hard as possible towards the end zone? Those days are over with the new kickoff rules implemented by the NFL this season. Now, the whole kickoff game has become a chess match between special teams coordinators, and teams like the Raiders are using advanced techniques to gain an advantage. I think this is brilliant on Hightower's part, and here's why. The new kickoff rules have created what coordinators call landing zone requirements that force kickers to be much more precise with where they place the ball. If a kick doesn't reach the 20-yard line, it automatically results in a penalty that puts the ball on the receiving team's 40-yard line. That's devastating field position in modern NFL, but within that landing zone, between the 20 and 30-yard lines, kickers can now be creative with the type of spin and trajectory they give the ball. Daniel Carlson has been one of the pioneers of these dirty kicks because he understands it's no longer about kicking hard. It's about kicking smart. And do you know exactly how these dirty kicks work? Carlson applies a specific spin to the ball that makes it take an unpredictable trajectory. Once it hits the ground, instead of a normal bounce that a return man can anticipate, the ball can jump to the left, to the right, or even backward. This gives the Las Vegas coverage unit extra time to get there and tackle the returner before he can generate forward momentum. When you watch the film on the Raiders this season, Carlson has forced fumbles twice using these techniques and has limited his opponent's return average to less than 20 yards per attempt, compared to the league average of 24.8 yards. That's a significant difference that can add up over the course of a whole game. But here's what impresses me about Hightower's preparation. He's not just preparing our team to defend against these kicks, but Cairo Santos can also execute these same techniques offensively. Hightower specifically mentioned that Santos did a phenomenal job last week, keeping Dallas Cavante Turpin off balance with exactly this type of kicks. Remember Turpin? That guy is one of the most dangerous return men in the entire NFL. Last year, he averaged 25.4 yards per kickoff return and had 2 touchdowns. But against us, Santos used knuckle kicks and dirty balls to limit Turpin to just 18.6 yards per return, and more importantly, eliminated any big play opportunity. I'll tell you this evolution in special teams represents exactly the type of attention to detail that separates good teams from great teams. While other teams are focusing solely on offense and defense, organizations like the Bears are maximizing every possible advantage, including these technical aspects of kickoffs most fans never notice. But here comes the risk the Raiders are taking with these experimental kicks. The Cardinals learned this the hard way Thursday night when Chad Rillen tried to beat it clever. With a dirty kick against Seattle, his kick landed short of the landing zone, resulting in an automatic penalty that put the ball on Seattle's 40-yard line. With less than 2 minutes remaining, that extra field position allowed the Seahawks to drive for the game-winning field goal. Do you see the irony here? Rillen tried to outsmart Seattle's returners with a creative kick, but his execution wasn't perfect and ended up costing Arizona the game. That's exactly the type of mistake the Raiders could make if Carlson gets too aggressive with his dirty kicks against our returners, and here's where we have a unique advantage that other teams don't possess. Velus Jones Jr. and Adri Carter, our main returners, have been practicing specifically against these types of kicks all week. Hightower has been using jugs machines and specialty equipment to simulate exactly the type of unpredictable bounces Carlson will attempt to create. But do you think that practice is enough preparation for Sunday's reality? I think it is because our returners have already faced similar situations earlier this season. Against Detroit, Jones handled multiple weird bounces cleanly without fumbles. Against Dallas, Carter showed patience waiting for the right opportunity to attack rather than forcing returns in bad field position. What I like even more is that we have Tory Taylor, our Australian punter, who brings a completely different element to our special teams arsenal. Taylor grew up playing Australian rules football where punt-on-the-run tactics and specialty kicks are part of the basic skill set. If we need to counter Las Vegas dirty kicks with our own creative punting strategy, Taylor has techniques most NFL punters never learned. That's something that he's done in his past in his career. He's done in his college career, Hightower said about Taylor's Australian background. He has done it really since he was a little boy picking up, just running and kicking the ball. It provides a different element for us. Keep some guys off balance for sure. Can you imagine Las Vegas trying to prepare their return coverage for traditional American punts and suddenly Taylor unleashes an Australian-style punt that bounces completely differently? That type of unpredictability could be the difference in a close game, where field position determines the outcome. Here's my prediction for how this special teams battle plays out. Carlson is going to attempt multiple dirty kicks in the first quarter to test our return coverage and see if he can force an early mistake. If our returners handle those kicks cleanly, he'll probably revert to more traditional approaches. But if we can force a short kick penalty or create a big return opportunity, that momentum swing could energize our entire team. I ask you, when was the last time the Bears had real tactical advantages in special teams, rather than just hoping nothing went wrong? This is what it feels like to have a coaching staff that truly understands all aspects of the game, not just offense and defense. Chicago, after everything we've just analyzed in depth, I have 3 crucial questions for our entire community. First, do you really think Ryan Poles should consider trading DJ Moore when Rome Odunze is just starting his career, and we might need that veteran presence and leadership in the locker room during a potential playoff run? Second, do you fully trust that Theo Benedette can not only survive, but compete effectively against Max Crosby if Darnell Wright can't play? Or should we mentally prepare for a tough afternoon, where we'll constantly need to help our right tackle with scheme protection? And third, are these significant, detailed improvements in special teams, from dirty kicks to Australian punting techniques, enough to compensate if our offense struggles to establish rhythm early in the game? I'll tell you this after years of covering this team. We are more than just subscribers to a YouTube channel. We are a family united by navy blue and orange, a community that has suffered together during seasons of disappointment. Watching this team struggle with questionable management decisions, inconsistent quarterback development, and a general lack of attention to detail that separates winning organizations from mediocre ones. But now, for the first time in a long time, we have real, tangible reasons to have genuine hope. We have Caleb Williams maturing every week, showing exactly the type of poise and decision-making we hoped for when we drafted him number 1 overall. We have Rome Odunze emerging as a potential superstar receiver who could anchor our passing attack for the next decade. And we have a coaching staff in Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron that finally understands those small technical and tactical details that win games in modern NFL. This community we've built here on this channel is more than entertainment or superficial analysis. We are the authentic voice of Chicago and the world of the Bears. And I need every single person watching this video to be part of this family permanently. If you firmly believe DJ Moore should stay because his veteran presence is irreplaceable during this window of opportunity, hit like on this video right now. If you think Theo Benedette can genuinely surprise everyone on Sunday and hold his own against one of the league's premier pass rushers, leave me a detailed comment explaining exactly why you have that confidence. And if you want to be part of this growing family, connecting Bears fans from Chicago to around the world, subscribe right now and turn on those notifications, because I guarantee tomorrow we'll have more explosive news about the Bears that will impact everything we think we know about this team's direction. Ryan Poles isn't done making moves. Matt Eberflus has more strategic adjustments coming. And Caleb Williams continues developing at a pace that could surprise everyone. And you absolutely cannot afford to miss what's next for Chicago. This city, our beloved Chicago, deserves a winning team after decades of mediocrity and false hope. And finally, for the first time since that magical 2018 season, we are seeing real, tangible signs that we might actually have that winning team we've been dreaming about. And before I go, I've noticed many of you watch my videos on television. Let me know if you need me to record a step-by-step tutorial on how to always make sure YouTube notifies you of my videos, so you'll always have the latest Bears news firsthand. Comment record the video please. Bear down, Chicago Bears. And we'll see each other tomorrow with more news that will shake up the whole city and possibly the entire NFC North landscape.